What's up, guys? Welcome back to Modern Meditation, and I want to shout out to why we chose that name. I've always really enjoyed using rational thought and logic to really break down how things work together and why things make sense. But the last year or so of my life, my mind has been absolutely blown by intuitive things like meditation and spirituality. So with this series, I really want to take a deep dive into the meditation and spirituality that I think has so much power to help everyone, but from a lens of a very rational, logical understanding of why it makes so much sense, so that anyone can benefit from this. Now, in the last video, I said that the next video would be a process video about holding court, and that was a lie, because when I was developing that video, I realized that first I needed to do this video that's more of an explanation of the how and why basic level meditation works the way it does. So let's dive into that. See, one time I was talking to this friend of mine, one of the smartest guys I know, and he was like, oh yeah, meditation, that's like you sit there with no thoughts, right? And then you have this empty mind. Yeah, I tried that once. I fell asleep. It wasn't great. I mean, yeah, that's not entirely wrong in the same way that it would be accurate to say that basketball is a game in which people wear shoes. But the empty mind is actually a step in the process. We've got a lot of emotional, psychological detritus and garbage that we build up from our daily interactions and the things we go through, and then we've got some really deep stuff that needs to be cleaned out, but those aren't parts of the mind that are a little quieter. They're buried deep. So the basic process of meditation is to process the things that are in your brain so that you can let some of them go, and then that emptiness of having let go of that thing, that creates a space, and in that empty space, in that void, the deeper parts and the more important priorities can start to poke their heads out and say, oh hey, I've got something to tell you. So let's go to a metaphor of a couple in a relationship. And you know, they really love each other, but it's been a busy week. They haven't had a lot of time to connect. And then they start fighting about whose turn is it to do the fucking dishes? They're not just fighting about who didn't do the dishes. They're also fighting about the fact that they're frazzled and they haven't taken that time to connect, and they both really miss each other. But underneath that, if we peel back that layer, there's probably another layer. Maybe the one partner spent 6 years in a relationship with someone who didn't care as much as they did and was the one who had to pull all the weight and was always doing the cooking and the dishes, and is just really worried that this relationship is going to go the same way. And maybe the other partner was forced to do dishes as a child, as a punishment, and would cry themselves through the dishes in the kitchen, which sounds terrible. But you know, but maybe if we unpeel that layer, there's also a layer of the one partner with the relationship who was socialized to base their self-worth on being in a relationship, which is why they accepted that bad relationship for so long. So actually, this is about their sense of self-worth on a very deep level. And maybe the other partner was always made to feel terrible when they didn't help out around the house, and has, you know, a mild traumatic response to helping around the house because their dad was always out working and men don't work. So there could be several deep layers that are all filtering into this one little fight about the dishes. And the thing is that the really deep stuff, even if you fix the problem of the dishes, the really deep stuff is still going to be there and is going to pop its head out in all kinds of other different little fights and situations like that until it gets resolved. It's like when you've got something really smelly, like a dead corpse rotting in the bottom of the garbage can. So whatever you put on the top, it's going to start smelling like rotten corpse. So then you throw it out because you're like, ah, that smells, and you put something else over top, but it's going to smell too. The only way to get rid of the smell is to dump it right out. Oh, I need some wet wipes. So how is our wonderful couple going to fix the situation? Well, the first thing they need to do is set aside some time to hash it out and have a conversation. And then the first things that are going to come out are probably the stuff that's at the top of their minds and just needs to come blasting out, probably going to be about the dishes. I'm sorry I yelled about the dishes. I forgot that it was Tuesday. But once that stuff about the dishes is processed and let go of, the space that it leaves behind, the emptiness, is the space between them where they can really start to enjoy their connection. And if they maintain that space instead of getting distracted, if they maintain that space, then that space can become more supported and deeper and more full and ripe and ready and empty between them until they can peel back the layers and start to unpack the deeper stuff between them, like the previous relationship that wasn't great or the crying in the kitchen over the sink. And if they can get that stuff out of the way, then that will create so much more space between them, space to explore depth and intimacy and emotion and their connection and their vulnerabilities, until that space can become so supportive that they can peel off another layer and go even deeper to their issues of self-worth and sense of self. And by the end of it, they can be engaged in this beautiful healing process and have such a good relationship. And that's basically what meditation is trying to do for yourself, except the people in the relationship with meditation are you and you. So that's sort of the process of creating space for meditation. Now, the only thing is that creating space takes a fair bit of letting go. Think of your psychological emotional capacity like any other container. If it's already full, not a lot of new material is going to get in there. So please join us for our next video, Letting Go. That's gross.